Welcome to the Hot Healed Girl podcast.
Welcome back, friends. Today is the anticipated day everyone's been waiting for, us included. Eco recap.
Yeah, even some of my clients were like, I can't wait for your eco podcast. I'm like, oh, thanks.
I'm just excited to chat about it.
I know. I get one thing I have to say is I cannot find the notebook that I actually wrote notes down in for the life of me. I do not know.
Okay.
Where the heck it is. I found 3 other things that I didn't remember where I put them while moving, but I cannot find the notebook.
That's so sad but funny because for those of you that don't know, Emily literally moved on Saturday of Eco. So like,
yeah,
Thursday, Friday, you were in your old place noting it up, and now you can't find it.
Yeah, I have. So my highlights on Instagram are basically my notes.
And for those of you watching this on YouTube today, I apologize. I'm going to look down a lot, right? Like all my notes are here. I'm also going to be going through the binder a little bit because I kept a lot of notes in the margins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to be looking at my phone because, I have the PDFs. I'm going to pull up the PDFs of some of the ones that I liked so I can personally grab some notes from there.
I have a little bit of those too. So it's just plenty. Okay.
All right. So Courtney was there in person. I did it virtually. I'm very sad that I missed out on the in-person experience, but hopefully in May we will both go and we can record a podcast in person.
That would be so fun.
So, yeah. So, give us your overall, how did you like the in-person?
Oh my God, I loved it. This is my second time. So, not that I don't see the value in doing it online. There's crazy value of doing it online, but I feel like a good chunk of it is from the networking, the energy, all of that. It gets me so inspired being there, to come back to my business and give all these nuggets. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it still has a similar impact at home, but I don't know. I'm a vibe person. So that's why was willing to make sacrifices during the years where I needed to in order to go in person.
Yeah.
Also, for those of you that don't know what ECO is, it's a CellCore conference. It stands for Exponential Clinical Outcomes. So the way it started, it used to just be Todd and Jay pretty much giving anecdotes about what's working in their business and all of that. And now they have a lot of other speakers too, which is great because we get to hear about a whole array of topics. And it's 3 full days. Yeah,
their speakers are amazing. They're
some that honestly
incredible.
Goes over my head. So back to being in person. It was so good because I got to meet new people. I got to network. I had a roommate who I hadn't met in person. She was in my MBSR class and my blood chemistry class. So felt like I already knew her, but it went super well. We got along great. It was phenomenal. And then all the meetups, all the people, it was just great. I cannot say enough good things about it. If you're considering going in person and you can swing it right, we know flights are crazy right now, but hopefully they drop at some point.
I was already looking at them and I'm
oh no, I already
actually not too bad right now.
They're not that bad right now, so I'm probably going to buy one soon, even though I'm sure the time is going to change, probably 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
I'm literally sure it's going to, but I'm I just feel like it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
we'll see. I feel like maybe at the beginning of next year they might drop after Christmas. I don't know. I'm hoping.
Very true.
We'll see.
And there's all the vendors there in person. Obviously you can still use the vendor codes online. I think they said they give a slightly bigger discount in person. It's 30 versus they give round numbers, right? So it's just a chunk number instead of exactly 30%. Free BCATP to get that brain going. That was my fave.
I was very envious of that.
Every single day I went up and I was BCATP, hand it over.
And
then just all the vendors are so fun. I come back with a new Therasage, something every time.
What did you get this time?
The ozone machine. Because I've stayed in too many moldy hotels. I was thinking about the Hypo Air, the mini one, but I was also ozone will be really good because my boyfriend's dealing with mold. I'll add that into his protocol, make him just breathe it in all the time, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we love it.
Well, I just did virtually, so I don't have.
I was gonna say, did you take advantage of any of the discounts or no?
I didn't.
Except for the CellCore supplements.
Yeah, I took advantage of that, definitely.
Heck yeah. I want to give a caveat before we get into it. A lot of these, not a lot. In the first day, there were quite a few talks that were talking about shots, and specifically the cocoa shot. You get what I'm saying. I'm not going to say it straight out.
We want to keep our podcasts on the up and up.
Yeah.
We don't want to get shut down, people.
Yeah. So if this is not something you resonate with, right, maybe you just skip a little bit in. If you're like, I got it, I'm fine with it, I don't want to know any of the research because maybe that'll make you crazy, that's totally okay too. I just want to warn everyone because I know it's a super controversial topic, and I'm not saying what I believe. I'm just saying that these are what was talked about, and we're going to go over it. So the first talk was called Signs of the Times by Ryan Cole, MD. Update on germ theory. So this was, literally about the shot.
Courtney was supposed to get him on our podcast, but
no, I wanted to get Jack Wolfson on our podcast.
Oh, that's right. The second dude that talked.
Cardiologist. Yeah, except I'm a weenie and I didn't know how to say hi to him. I also didn't even see him. Like, I don't know if he left at some point. Like, you see most of the people like on the floor. Didn't see him.
They mentioned that one or two of the guy, like the first speakers, had to leave.
Yeah, so like
right
he
away,
totally might have. It might not have been my fault. But
anyway.
So I don't have the slides on this because they didn't have it printed out, so I haven't handed any notebook. Talks a lot about the spike proteins. Spike proteins. So what is released into you when you get the shot?
Mm-hmm. And
How
to everybody else.
Yeah. The spike proteins can shed. So they talk about the spike proteins, how far this is adapted. Every shot is pretty much extinct. Like, every shot is to an extinct variant. So they're saying like it's ineffective, right? Because by the time you're getting this booster or this shot, like the variant's already extinct. The way they are adapting and pleomorphing, like they truly look almost nothing like the variants before. They showed a whole chart of like the DNA behind it. And it really is wild how far it's morphed, where they barely have anything alike. I wish we could show some of these charts too, because I feel like those are like jaw droppers when you see it in front of you visually. Yeah,
maybe we'll have to prep a little more and we can do like a screen share or something, like for the YouTube people.
We could totally do that.
We could do a more in-depth on just like this particular thing.
Yeah. And then obviously what we all know about the shot, right? It doesn't actually prevent disease, doesn't actually prevent transmission, doesn't actually prevent death. Surprise, we all know that, right? He called it, this is my favorite part, a live whack-a-mole. Because he's saying by the time you're trying to get it, like it's already gone and it's going the other way. So that's like trying to pick a booger through a mask, which made me laugh out loud because I was picturing it. I was literally picturing someone trying to pick their nose through a mask. I'm like,
people in their masks.
I know.
I can't.
I still see people all the time, but
where I live, it's like still super common because people are, I won't get into it, but yeah. But then everybody pulls it down to sneeze or cough and then puts it back up, and I'm just like, really?
I
really?
Unfortunately used to sneeze in my mask and I literally hated it. I was like, this is so gross, it's on my face.
I mean, I would pull it down because I was only wearing it because I had to.
Same.
You know, so I would definitely pull it down to sneeze because I'm like, I'm not sneezing in my mask. I don't care. If you want to get mad at me, whatever. But I see people wearing it now doing that, and I'm like, okay, but you don't have to be wearing it.
Yeah,
so like,
way different.
Why?
Way different.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, some more on. These are all my highlights, right? And like I said, the shots literally are spike protein. So more about it. It doesn't stay in the arm. When they inject you with spike protein, it's not just in your deltoid. It doesn't stay localized. Like, it spreads to your whole body. I feel like a lot of this people know, but I'm just going to like preface and go through it. It can damage tissues, endothelial cells, clotting, the big C, immune suppression, autoimmune disease, viral reactivation, DNA repair, neurological damage, mitochondrial and heart damage, decreased sperm count, and whack up your hormones. That was like my favorite slide because it literally had all the things that it can do. And like, I know we all know on like anecdotal levels what's happened to people, but like, holy cow.
The hormones thing, like I've seen that.
Yeah, and decreased sperm count.
So much. Yeah. I mean, just for me personally, back when everybody started getting the first one, you know, I'm sure you heard it too, like women's periods were going crazy.
Yeah.
And even me, Like, I never spot before my period, ever. I just never spot. I know it's common for some women to do that, but I have never done that in my entire life. And literally the month after it came out and everybody started getting it, and the job I was working at the time was the majority of the people there were elderly. And there was so many of them that had told me, like, oh, I got it. Did you get it? And so I just know that I was exposed to a ton of people that had just gotten it. And that month I spotted like a week before my period, which never happens. And since then and that's been a year now. And so since then, it's been almost like every other month where I will spot a little bit. And my periods, those 2 months after it had first come out, were awful. And I have had awful periods. Let me tell you, those were horrible. They were the worst ones I've ever had in my entire life. And I was not stressed out. I did not change anything crazy in my diet. So I can only assume that that is what it came from.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because if you're like, everything else stayed the same, right? And like, maybe you were a little stressed out. You were planning a wedding and working 2 jobs.
No, that was the previous year. That was 2021. So yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, again, a lot of the stuff in this talk was things that we already knew, but it was just interesting to see. Wait, the one thing I want to bring up. So he goes over like what's going on now, right? So that was when everyone was getting the shot. Most people have like made their decision now. You're either continuing to get boosters or like, yeah, I'm done. There are quite a few banned mandates. Italy and India went all the way to the Supreme Court that a mandate is not constitutional. And Uruguay does not allow shots in kids, which is very interesting. And like we know, the spike damages liver, lung, heart. But I wanted to tell you guys the VAERS reports. So if you don't know what VAERS is, it's like vaccine injury hotline, website, whatever organization. Because this had my jaw on the floor. Do you remember this chart where it's like nothing, 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 and then all of a sudden it shoots up?
I'm looking for it because I pulled up
I have that one. So this is deaths reported to VAERS by year. So they have all the way from 1990 up until 2022. They said August year to date. 1990, pretty much none. It stays constant, very low, all the way up until 2020. It's significantly under 2,000, like probably less than 1,000 every single year, something like that. And then 2021, it shoots up to over 20,000 deaths reported.
Yeah, I just found it. Yeah.
And then 2022, we're only through August, right? But it's slightly under 10,000.
I'm
looking at a chart, so I don't have a real number, but like it's almost probably around 9, 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
And that one blew my mind. And then so the rest of the reports, there's over 1 million reports through August 5th, 2022. I don't know if this is year to date or just in general, right? I don't have all the info. 30,000 deaths. That's total. That's got to be total because there were like none before. So yeah, 30,000 deaths, 172,000 hospitalizations, 133,000 urgent care, 200,000 doctor's office visits. I'm ballparking. I don't want to say the full numbers. Around 10,000 anaphylaxis, around 15,000 Bell's palsy, almost 5,000 miscarriages, 16,000 heart attacks, 51,000 that have been told myocarditis or pericarditis, almost 56,000 permanently disabled, 14,000 shingles, 44,000 severe allergic reactions, 33,000 life-threatening, and almost 9,000 low platelets. What? I know I threw a lot of numbers at you, right? But that was just all of those numbers.
Yeah, I pulled it up and I'm looking at it. Yeah.
I know. And I was like, I want everyone to know, like, I know it's a lot of numbers, but just if you think about that in the grand scheme of things, like, no wonder this is such a hot topic. No wonder this had to be talked about so much because people's lives are being changed.
I honestly love that they like jumped right in with that.
Oh my God.
It was really, like, whoa.
It was a strong start. It was like, oh, we're just going there. We're just not even, we're not going to ease our way in. We got a little welcome. And then they were like, boom, people are dying. And I was like, okay.
I loved it. Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about that talk? Because that was pretty much where it ended. After that, it was a lot of research. It was a lot of science about the spike proteins. Didn't understand most of it over my head.
Yeah, and I feel like it would be way over everybody else's head too. It's one of those things where you kind of just like, and then you have to go back and research. I did like the little meme that they ended this one with. It was like, don't be a mitochondria, be a duochondria.
That was funny. I loved that. You were like, let's be a duochondria.
Yeah. They're little funnyisms that they throw in.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, so the second talk was by Dr. Jess. A lot of you guys know Dr. Jess MD on Instagram, Dr. Jess Petros, boosting your immune system post-pandemic. This was the first one I have slides for because the other one they were like, got it in too late. So we learned her very personal story in the last eco because she talked about it. Do you remember that? So her dad got the shot and never told anyone about it.
Yeah.
Not her mom, not her, nothing. Because she is holistic, did not want them to get it. And her mom, like, could not speak, was having, like, crazy health issues, like, literally starting to lose brain function, all of this stuff. And nothing changed. Like, they didn't move. They didn't have, like, they didn't know what happened. So
and wasn't this within, like, a few days, too?
Yeah, I think
where she just declined. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. And it was so sudden that she just started declining. And so she attributes it to the spike protein from her dad, which makes sense. That's what we got about it. I feel like I'm not doing it justice, but it's a very dramatic story. Like her mom literally couldn't talk. She went from a very normal functioning human being.
Well, and then she talked about how she was like reaching out to all her practitioner friends and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And she finally took her to some hospital. I don't remember the name of it, what she called it.
Mayo Clinic? No, I don't know where she went. Keep going.
No, it was some big hospital, but I don't know. But anyway, she was like, by the time I had driven her to the hospital and she was like away from her dad.
It was the Amen Clinic. It's the cognitive
That's
people
right.
in California. Yeah.
And so she's like, by the time I had gotten her to the hospital and she had been away from my dad for that long of period of time, however long it took, I don't know. She was like, she was almost fully back to cognitive functioning again by that time.
So in this, she goes a lot about blood labs and the lab or abnormalities because she's like, some of it, like you can't see a lot of differences in lab abnormalities. It's one of those things where you have to know when you caught it. And if you don't, then they're like, well, it can't be attributed, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She said there was homework. I did not watch the homework. So as we're going around, the lab abnormalities, like it's pretty similar to people who contract it and people who get the shot. That's like part of the problem, because she was saying there were only a few that were actually different in people. Yeah.
And then she had a slide on long haulers. Didn't somebody else do a talk on long haulers too?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember who. I think that's my favorite right now is like the people going over the long haulers, because I feel like so many people have that. And then there's everybody who got the shot and then got sick again. And I feel like that has given them even more of the long hauler symptoms.
So what are the long hauler symptoms, right? Brain fog, anxiety, depression, fatigue, headaches, muscle, joint pain, shortness of breath, sleeping problems. I'm looking at these symptoms and I'm like, most of them are symptoms of Lyme. Sorry, that's just also the truth. Like, and then big fat surprise, they said the people who like are typically contract long haulers, chronic Lyme, people with POTS, fibromyalgia, MCAS, histamine intolerance, multiple chemical sensitivity, and then like people who've had a viral load at some point in their life. Like,
I've seen a lot of people who have had EBV.
Yeah, so or like mono.
Yeah, and then their fatigue majorly flares up.
Yeah, because that's one thing that like everyone, you're told when you have mono, you never get rid of it, or herpes, you never get rid of it. It stays in you. It can reactivate at times.
Well, it's like a dormant virus. I mean,
exactly.
That's literally what any virus pretty much is. It's they're out there. Didn't they mention there was like 10,000 of them or something like that?
There's like a crazy number of viruses.
Yeah.
That's in a later talk too.
Yeah. We may have to do a part 2.
I don't
So
think we'll get
eco
through this
recap.
in one. It's
No.
already like a decent amount through, and I'm like, we are in the second talk.
We might just have to skip a couple of them and just kind of
Some of
touch
them
on
I
our
have quite
favorites.
literally nothing to say about.
Yeah, we might just have to touch on our favorites, but I feel like we still may have to do a part 2.
They go over long haulers. PEA as a supplement for hair loss was one of the things I literally wrote down and starred because I had post-co hair loss. It wasn't to a point where other people noticed. I'm very, very grateful. I have a thick head of hair anyways, but it took me quite some time to like not cry when hair was just being pulled out of my head every time.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that have had that also. Mostly women, I feel like.
So, right, long haulers, women have a much higher risk because our 2 X chromosomes apparently has a lot to do with it. Thanks, X chromosomes. Because our immunity
Because women
cells,
don't have enough to deal with.
Apparently our immunity T cells are much more active. I thought that was super interesting. And then low nitric oxide and low mitochondrial dysfunction are like part of the reason that people get long haulers. And I just want to touch on like all of these anecdotes. A lot of them truly are like people with underlying stuff. Like what I tell people is that COVID, the way I found it, it attacks like your weakest point, like what's weakest in you. And that's what, unfortunately, you might get long haulers, that sort of issue, right? That's why it's not surprising that like people with Lyme who have something dormant, people with EBV that have something dormant, all you have to do is just kind of kick them in the butt a little bit. And it's like kicking a bee's nest.
It just immediately goes crazy.
I also was not able to post any of these slides on the internet because every single one had the V word, actually both V words, every single one. And I like couldn't cover up like every word. So.
Yeah, I accidentally posted one where I didn't cover it up and I was like, oh shoot, please don't make my views go down again. I just got them back.
Mine did. So I was mad about it. Yeah, so she does a case study too in here where she like goes over, it was apparently a friend of a friend, she did something, did a protocol, did a lot of like what you would expect, right? Neural therapy, lymph work, a lot of CellCore stuff, TUDCA, biotoxin binder, CT-zyme, energy work, all that stuff. It's just like exactly what you expect. She said, for those who struggle with mitochondrial damage, she loves the horse goo, as some people like to call it. Mouth taping for mouth breathers, which I love mouth taping. So you know me, I'm such a fan. I'm like, we love this. Vitamin D.
Well, that reminds me of a quote I think that somebody else mentioned again. It was like, if we could just learn how to breathe, we could fix the majority of our problems.
Yeah.
If people would just learn how to breathe when they're little. But anyway, I digress.
No, it's okay. I'm just looking at all the stuff she suggested in case people are still needing,
Castor oil packs was on there.
Liver oil, zinc, vitamin C, TUDCA, all that good stuff. We just want to keep our body healthy.
Yeah. I personally liked the mitochondrial support, the castor oil packs, the liver work, the trauma work.
I love
those were some of
support.
Yeah. I mean, for me, everybody that has come to me that has the long hauler symptoms, their mitochondria has been in the tank. So
your mitochondria can only spend all of its energy either producing energy or immunity. Of course, it's focusing on immunity right now. Of course, you have no friggin' energy because it's not focusing on that. Big fat surprise. Like, that happens all the time. It's always mitochondria and it's always drainage pathways. And once you get there, like, a lot of people increase rapidly from there. I feel like that was a theme with a lot of these talks. They're like, mitochondria, drainage pathways. And I'm like, I know this.
Yeah, we do. But, I mean, that's literally kind of
that's their
the whole basis of CellCore is drainage and mitochondria, but literally everybody needs it. So, I mean.
And then we move on to talk 3, LOL, like 25 minutes in. Environmental toxins and their dangerous impacts on the cardiovascular system by Dr. Jack Wolfson, DO. So if you don't know, Dr. Jack Wolfson is, my parents actually love him. He's the paleocardiologist. Like, that's his book. He's pretty well known. He's hilarious. I don't know that I took that many nuggets out of this talk. It was a good talk, but like, I also laughed a lot. So lives in Arizona, recently had a mold exposure. He and his family moved. He was saying like that's why he's big into mold now, because all of that. He's married to a chiropractor, so that's probably how he got well, that is pretty much how he got in the natural space. He said when he first met his wife, they met or whatever, and she's like, your job is useless.
I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think he was like, so I was on a date with this really hot woman or something, and he's like, and now I'm married to her. So
yeah, no, literally it was like she said something along the lines of like, your job is useless, and he's like, so obviously that intrigued me, and then like now they're married.
And now I married her.
Yeah. One thing I like about him is he's very outspoken. I mean, so are most of those speakers, but like he has been for quite a while, and as a cardiologist, I feel like that's a whole other field, right? A lot of these people are chiropractors, some are MDs, like but being a cardiologist is like very, very different, because I feel like all of them are just telling you
the same thing,
statins, like things like that, lower your blood pressure medication. So it's very great to have someone it's
nice to see that perspective from that field of medicine, I think, because
my parents were jealous.
That's why your mom wanted to go as your assistant.
Low-key a little bit. She still wants to go to the next one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I can bring an assistant and bring my mother.
Yeah. So before his mold slide, he had, are you suffering from atrial fibrillation, brain fog, cardiomyopathy, cholesterol, coronary artery disease, fatigue, gut problems, heart attack, high blood pressure, insomnia, palpitations, skin disorders, stroke, weight issues. Maybe it's from mold.
Yeah. And so he had a case study too with someone with cardiomyopathy and sarcoidosis, and like they came to him, they're like, have you heard of these? He's like, I've heard of them, never had anyone with them, ran all his regular labs, found out they had mold, and then all these things too. Maybe it's from mold. And then he just goes into like I said, I didn't get the most nuggets out of this because I know a lot about mold, I know. And so he's just saying like mycotoxins are going to impact your cardiovascular health, right? Chest pain, stroke, congestive heart failure, those types of things could come from mold, which you're breathing it in. So
yeah, it can also be a big trigger for like leaky gut. He has a slide here where it depletes your glutathione. So if you don't know, glutathione is a big precursor to detox in your liver. And like for me, for hormones, you definitely need that glutathione to make your liver process all those hormones and get it out. So if you're consistently being exposed to mold, you're probably going to have a depleted tank of glutathione.
And mold triggers inflammation in the body. Cholesterol spikes up when there's inflammation, things like that too. Yeah,
I see a lot of people drop weight when they detox from mold, get mold out of their body, or move out of a moldy situation.
Well, so all toxins love fat cells. They love to store themselves in fat cells. So when people detox, I do find mold is pretty common where it does hide in the fat cells, because your body has two options. It can either send it to fat cells to be stored where it can't harm you that much. I mean, it'll just make you fat, or it can send it to your internal organs where it can harm you a lot. And the body is very wise, and it's trying to literally save you. So as much as sometimes I tell this to my clients all the time, like it's hard to wrap your mind around the weight being your body saving you, think about the latter. Body's freaking wise. That's also another key takeaway. The body is infinitely wise. And I'm like, I know.
It is. We just don't love to listen to it.
Yeah, and that was like all I took from that talk, but I honestly loved it because I thought he was hilarious. Because it's just saying like mycotoxins and so mycotoxins are what mold puts out there, like it produces. That's the friggin' word.
That's what you're breathing in. That's what you're breathing in.
Yeah. So they're harmful to the body.
And at the end he has like the protocols and stuff. So obviously, like work with a practitioner is going to be the first thing that we both always suggest. But CellCore does have the new kit, the MYC kit, which I really like. I still think that you should be in contact with a practitioner while using it.
Yeah.
But it is out there like formulated specifically to target mold. If you are in a moldy situation and you can't leave, that's something good to have on hand to do.
I agree. I think it's good for foundations, but as someone who's dealt with mold, I want to tell you the truth. It's often not enough.
No, 100%.
I know. I just need to say, because I'm like, I've dealt with mold. I've done lots of protocols. I've also done lots of like box protocols because everyone tries it. It was never enough until I did a bio-individual approach for me. So if that's your option, it's a great option, right? If that's your only option.
Sometimes it's literally all people can afford to
and
do.
I totally get that. That's what I'm saying. Because I'm like, if that's your only option, 100%. It is so great while you are dealing with it. But I know a lot of people just don't want, they want to go for the cheapest option first. And I'm going to tell you, invest that money in something else is going to be a better option. As someone who went for the cheapest option first way too many times.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I was pointing at me. I did. I get it. I want the caveat because I'm like, you can totally go for it. I'm not trying to break your heart. Okay, so next was Jimmy Scaringi. I hope I'm saying that right. Breakthroughs in clinical applications for autistic children. There's quite a few talks on kids, which I did love them. I don't work with kids, so it was not practical for my practice.
Yeah, I think for you and I both, like, obviously we don't have kids, we don't work with kids, so I do find them very interesting.
Yeah.
And because I have friends with kids, like I pay attention.
Put it in the back of my mind because I'm like, you never know who you're going to need to help someday. But
yeah, I remember that it's there, so like I can go back to it if I need to. But yeah, I didn't save a lot of notes from.
No, me neither.
Well, obviously, I can't find any of my notes, but I just remember that I didn't write down a lot of stuff from this. I do think it's really cool, like the kids that they showed.
Powerful.
That got the autism symptoms flared up after the shot, and then using the CellCore supplements and protocols, it was like within 2 years, they basically reversed everything.
It was the MMR. So the MMR is like the heaviest laden with heavy metals. So it makes complete sense when people, it often happens that kids get sick after that because they say they have aluminum in it so that it can bind to your body and things like that. I don't know, right? I'm not a scientist. I'm just telling you what I've heard because I've done quite a bit of research on this because I think it's interesting. He got the shot and then instantly like had a fever, had withdrawal, didn't have like as much eye contact or like engagement, stuff like that. So it was very soon after. So that's why they tied it in. We went to see Jimmy, and
well, didn't it take a little while before? They tried a lot, and then they heard about him. So it shows the date here that they started, which was at the end of 2020. They started the detox.
Yeah, and they didn't see him until. Oh no, that's when they saw him. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, and then so he had. It says an appointment with the geneticist in the middle of 2021, so about 6 months after starting with Jimmy.
This is my favorite point. I highlighted it. So initially they said it might have been genetic, the autism. 6 months into working with Jimmy, they totally 100% ruled out genetic autism. That's how much progress he had made.
Yeah, well, it says here that his mom noticed changes like immediately.
Yeah.
After starting.
Yeah, so he utilizes muscle testing in his practice. He's in New York. So New York, you have to jump through hoops for labs, right? If you're not an MD, it's really pretty much impossible to get labs done. So that's why he literally pretty much only symptoms and muscle testing. That's all he does in his practice, which I get it. You have to do with what you can. And then that's how he makes all of his protocols. And he was just saying that I don't even know how to describe to you. Like, you need to see the pictures of like this kid going from very autistic, no eye contact, mumbling, not really making words, to like now. They said this is the now. Benchmarks are being reached, all appropriate for him being in pre-K. All of them. Whereas they totally thought that he was going to have to be in like the special classes and stuff like that. He's totally fine now. And his speech therapy has been reduced from 5 times a week to 3 times a week. They used a lot of CellCore products, obviously. They used a lot of their binders. They used a lot of like minerals.
Yeah. And so from like then to now, it's been about 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I find that very, very
I want to plug this woman's book. So the mom wrote a book A Boy Named Vinny by Angela Acker, because she spoke about the whole experience, which I think is totally needed out there, because autism is usually seen as a pretty final diagnosis, right? Like you don't think that there's any coming back from that.
And even I feel like when you try to tell people that it could potentially be tied to the kids' shots, they're like, oh no, it's a genetic thing. Like if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Which
And
is
they just get so defensive about it.
I don't blame
And yes,
them.
it might be a gene or it might be something, but the thing is it gets triggered by what gets put in their body from that shot.
I don't really believe most things are genetic, so I'm just gonna say that like your genes can change.
Yeah, and look how many people were like 10% of your health issues are genetic. The rest is you can change it, because they were like, you can change your mitochondria, you can change
your DNA.
You can literally change everything. So it just drives me up a wall when people are like, it's genetic, I can't change it, I can't do anything about it, so I just have to deal with it. I'm like, okay, well that means you don't want to try, you don't want to change it. If you wanted to try, you could.
Sometimes trying and wanting to change admits that you were wrong about something, right? People don't want to admit that they were wrong, and they don't want to change that belief. Why would you want to?
Yeah.
And same with like hearing that it might come from a shot.
Especially as a parent, I get it.
As a parent, like that would be so hard to hear that you may have played a role in that. And it's not saying that you meant to, right? Like no one's blaming you. You did the best you could with the information you had.
Yeah, the thing is, like,
it's so hard to hear.
If you didn't know, if you've never heard anything about that, didn't know anyone who had that experience, all you think is you're doing what you need to do for your kid because that's what your doctor is telling you to do, your pediatrician is telling you to do. Literally everyone that you know has done that. You had it done. I mean, you don't know any different until something happens. And, like, obviously we don't wish that upon anyone, but we are glad that the information is getting out there for sure. And we love that there's products like CellCore that can help reverse that, so kids and parents don't have to live like that forever.
And I think one of the great things about these conferences, you see that like it's a whole slew of people from different walks of life. There are people that are health coaches, there are MDs, DOs, PhDs, and all of these people have gone along whatever path of life they have, whatever they've done in their profession, and have eventually found CellCore and been like, nothing works like these products, right? Like these are best in class for what they do. I utilize them in all of my protocols. They're just saying like how phenomenal it is for like helping people heal, which is obviously what we found.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's great to hear from people who maybe have like more authority, like MDs and DOs. Like I don't care, right? Doesn't mean anything to me, but for some people it might.
Yeah, that's what I love about it too, is it's not just like the owners of the company or the scientists of the company telling you that their product is the best, or it's not just like people that they paid to work for them. It's actually people that discovered the products are like, hey, I want to share my story, because they have like on our slides and stuff, they're like, if you have an experience that you want to share at the next ECO, like please reach out, blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to speak at ECO one day.
Yes, you are.
It.
You are.
I don't know what I'm going to say yet, but I'm going to speak at ECO one day. You're going to see me on that stage. Hopefully I don't pee myself. Which is funny because I hate public speaking, but for some reason I feel called to do that. So.
I hate public speaking too, but when people are like, hey, do you want to talk about parasites or something? I'm like, heck yeah, I do.
Okay, so we had our lunch break next. And then we come back and it's deep dive into protocols for Lyme and co-infections, implementing the IS products with Dr. J and Dr. Todd, aka two of the owners of CellCore. I loved this one. Why?
I did miss a little bit of this one.
Did you?
Just because I went to the other house and got delayed.
I mean, yeah, you had a whole,
because there was people there. But anyway, I fully trusted you to get notes on this one.
I have a personal experience with Lyme, right? And I do love hearing the other people talk, but I find the most nuggets to take back to my practice are from Jay and Todd. Don't know why. I give other people benefit of the doubt, but usually it's like the most clinical stuff that like I actually can use.
They convey information very well. like in a very
digestible,
like, yeah, I wanted to say edible. I was like, that's not the word. A very digestible way to take it in.
yeah. I just feel like it's digestible, and they like do tamper with things. Like maybe they'll tell you how to do certain dosing or stuff. Like, I mean, still their products, but it'll just be things that I'm like, I can absolutely use that in my practice. But some of these other people, like, they give a lot of benefit in what they say, but that's that. So let me talk about Lyme disease. Boop, 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 boop. Lyme transmission, as you guys know, most people think it's deer ticks only. Mites, fleas, mosquitoes, biting flies can also transmit it. Birds, cows, deer, rabbits, and other mammals can be carriers of it. The reason that testing is also not as accurate, right? Because you're only testing usually for like a handful of the names. There are so many. It's Borrelia,
Bartonella, Babesia.
Yeah. But there are over 100 strains in the US and over 300 strains over the world. And we usually only test for like 5.
Well, and haven't you mentioned before that it only shows up
that too.
within what, like 7 weeks?
It's usually like 6 weeks. Yeah,
6 to
because
7
the
weeks.
immune system can get very suppressed by Lyme too. So if the immune system's so suppressed, then it's not even going to show up. Things like that. Lots of it. And then they go into Borrelia, which is my fave because it's a parasite. It's one of the co-infections. It can live in worms. We know that, right? It's a parasite. 40% of ticks have parasites. So sometimes it's not even necessarily just because you got bit by a tick. Maybe they inserted a parasite in you. How nice of them. I love that.
Sexy.
How cute. And then they're just saying like it's not just Lyme. Most people have co-infections. 32% of Babesia, 28% of Bartonella, 15% Ehrlichia, 15% Mycoplasma. There's over 200 plus different bacteria genera in a rat blood sample after being bit by a tick. So obviously they only did it in a rat, but like 200.
It's too much. Too much.
And then most of the research on tick transmission is done on animals, right? And animals have thicker hair than us. So they're like, you probably, everything gets transmitted to you less than 24 hours. They think that it's less than 8 hours actually. Because in the study, it said under 24 hours. But again, thick hair, animals.
Yeah.
Did you see the video on ticks stinging?
I did see that.
Gross.
Yeah.
They don't bite you. They like sting you.
Yeah, I honestly had no idea actually that they did that.
I was grossed out. So anyways. And then they give us like tick removal tool. They say you're not supposed to burn it, all that other stuff, because the head will stay in you. There's one you can find on Amazon. Yay.
Yay, Amazon.
I know. And then like you could always get a tick tested if you get bit by a tick. They say like just assume honestly it has something, which I get. And then what do you do if you get bit by a tick? First, I always tell people bentonite clay masks on the affected area.
Yes, love that.
And then they were saying to put the IS products topically.
I thought that was really interesting. I was like, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
I have used Para 3 topically, but I have not used any of the. I had a weird rash. Actually, I think I might have told you about this, but I had a little rash on my leg, and it was really itchy, and it was like not going away. And I almost thought it was like maybe ringworm for a second. But it was just, it wasn't growing. It was about the size of like maybe a quarter.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
It was just itchy. And it was just dry skin, just like flaking off constantly. And nothing I was doing. I did the bentonite clay on it. I did like a plantain salve. I did like an herbal salve. Nothing I was doing was working. I put like a silver, like the Sovereign Silver,
love silver,
antibiotic
ointment
cream on it. Yeah, I did like a calendula gel. Nothing. And finally I was like, you know, what if I put Para 3 on there? Like, what if it is ringworm or something? Let me try it. Like, immediately within 3 days, the itching was gone. Within a week, the whole entire rash was gone. I was like, interesting.
I never would have thought to put it topically until they said this. They say like immediately put IS4 on top it, right? Like if you only have one of them, take whatever you have and put it on.
Yeah.
They do. Of course, they said like have these products on hand, especially if you're in the Northeast or something like that, because if you get bit by a tick, you're going to want them. You're not going to be able to wait all those days. And I get it. I also do have these products on hand. So I was like,
yeah. I mean, honestly, it makes sense because your skin literally absorbs things in under 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So rather than ingesting it, just put it right on your skin.
Yeah. And then they also say to ingest it. They say like do a 14-day like crazy. I'm not going to say the doses, but they're just saying it's a mixture of 4, BAB, BART, and Boost, and Para 3 and 4. Like you're doing that over the first 2 weeks, just like in heavy doses.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the dosing because it's heavy doses. And I've taken a bunch.
Reach out to your practitioner before you do that.
And then, Lyme's not global. It's not just in the Northeast and Midwest because birds can carry Lyme disease. They also can carry bugs that carry Lyme disease, things like that. All that fun stuff. Bullseye rash. This is my fave. Highlighted. 20 to 90% of people actually develop a bullseye rash. 20 to 90. I'm sorry. That's a humongous range.
Broad range.
20 to 90. Apparently, I don't know any of the numbers on this, but they said if you get the rash, it's because you already have Lyme and your body is just reacting to getting it again. Or not getting
I thought that was really interesting.
So I'm like, I never got a bullseye rash, and I know that 100% because I was a child, so we would have known.
Yeah.
Like a small baby body, you would have seen it somewhere. But Lyme.
Yeah. I think you should just touch on some of the common chronic Lyme symptoms really quick.
Yeah, I love that. So arthritis, like you can't move, bone, ligament, muscle pain, brain fog, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, facial paralysis happens a lot. Mood changes, neurological symptoms, right? Numbness, tingling, tremors, burning sensations, neurodegenerative diseases, MS, ALS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and then other autoimmune conditions. That's the chronic. The acute ones, right? The bullseye rash, the fatigue, the fever, flu-like symptoms. But chronic just means you've had it for a longer period of time.
Which most people, I feel like, with the majority of the symptoms, have chronic.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you probably didn't just get it.
Joint pain. Joint pain was me. Not fun. Feels like you have arthritis. And I'm like, what age am I? 27.
You just had a birthday, you should know.
I know, honestly. But I'm used to telling my story about when I just told it like 3 times this week. So when I first got sick, I was 22. So I almost just said I was 22. And I'm like, I'm not 22.
You're still 22. It's fine. You can still be 22. It's all good.
And then they go over the co-infections and the symptoms. Do you want me to go over them?
I just wanted to mention the one for Bartonella, the cat scratch fever, because I see people with that a lot. So the cat scratch fever is where it looks like a cat has scratched you. It kind of looks like red stretch marks. I see people with that a lot, and they're like, I don't know what this is. Yeah, that is a very big symptom of Bartonella.
Yeah, that and one of the things I see for it is usually... No, I was thinking Babesia. Night sweats and air hunger are like the 2 biggest ones I see.
But again, night sweats are a very common thing for so many things. So
I feel like night sweats I only see in mold and Babesia.
Hormone issues.
Well, yeah.
I see that a lot. But
but like every time someone has one of those, with me, it's been an underlying infection. I'm like, yeah, you have hormone issues because there's shit going on in your body.
Yeah, I see it connected to mold a lot. The hormone and the night sweats. For me, definitely parasite cleansing got rid of that.
God bless. Mine was getting rid of Babesia. Yeah, then the rest of it's just like about how parasites pleomorph, which by pleomorphing, like they change shapes, forms, sizes. They adapt. They're jerks. They are. Like, come on.
You're so like, they are.
They are. They're fucking jerks. I mean, I love this, but yeah, a lot of it's just like a lot of science. They go into science. I don't.
I like how they touched on like it can come from water as well. Like Dr. J mentioned that is it his daughter's Lyme symptoms?
I don't remember.
He mentioned that in something, but yeah, just changing their water got rid of it because he's like, I refused to believe that it was coming from the water.
His mom. Not
It was his mom.
His wife, and it was radium.
Yeah, because that's why they brought up the radium slides in here. And also, I have a whole slide dedicated to Texas because we're awesome, but not in this case. 80% of Texas water is contaminated with radium. So, as we know, Texas is a very big state. We have a lot of population. Probably don't drink the tap water in Texas if you want to stay away from radium. And really just don't drink tap water anywhere, but that is your PSA if you live in Texas. And it says that these services provide water to 22 million people.
Ooh.
So that is a lot. And there also is a radium belt in Wisconsin too. Yeah.
Which I'm like, how did that fit in? But whatever.
Well, it's because Lyme affects your joints. And the way the glyphosate interacts with your collagen.
I thought of Reed literally as soon as
because we talked, I think we did talk about that in one podcast episode about how I tested him for glyphosate in his joints, and Babesia, the ISBAB,
I forgot that.
canceled it out. So it was Babesia hiding in his joints. And since being on ISBAB, he does not complain about his knees anymore.
I know. I literally thought of that when we were talking about it. I was like, but I forgot as soon as I'm looking at these slides. I'm like, I didn't write anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So glyphosate, it basically, I don't know how to scientifically explain it, but it interacts with your collagen. And I guess your body kind of confuses it. It mimics it, but it obviously doesn't have the stretchiness and the limberness of collagen, so that's why your joints are going to hurt.
Yeah, that's wild to me. Like, I had heard it from you, but then I was like, hey, Emily's smart. Suck it, everyone.
I try. Sometimes I feel dumb, but whatever. That's why I go to eco.
Right. You learn all the stuff. Yeah, and then it just goes into like pleomorphism, quorum sensing, and quorum sensing is just saying that bacteria is able to communicate with each other and know how many there are of themselves, and then they just, produce more until they're at a critical mass. They're just rude.
They are just rude. Very rude.
Yeah, and then that's it. And then but then we get into like testing, and they're like, how do you test for Lyme? The standard is ELISA test in the Western blot. But
well, they have like top questions like to ask yourself.
I know. I just never. Well, that's after.
After that, they have that towards the end.
Yeah, because that's what for Lyme, I go based on symptoms more and blood labs. But like, because the standard test, right? If you're someone who's like, I got a test, I don't have Lyme. The ELISA, whatever it is, test has to come back positive in order to run the Western blot. And research shows that 50 to 70% of patients go undiagnosed or are misdiagnosed. 50 to 70.
I believe it.
What?
Considering the amount of people that have told me.
Oh no, I believe it.
I don't have Lyme.
What?
But all of your symptoms point to Lyme.
I know. And that's why we go based on symptoms.
And that's why it's so frustrating for people to go to a traditional doctor. They're so like, sad. I am 100% sure I have Lyme, but then they're like, no, you don't.
It's so sad. It makes me upset for them.
Me too. I'm thinking like maybe one more topic, and then we might have to.
I have a call at 1, so like. 24 minutes. I feel like this next one we can go over really quick, and then we have one more call. Or one more. We can go over the next 2. This one's fucking quick. I'm sorry. It's just about a virtual practice. No one wants to.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we can probably skip that because that's, unless you're a health practitioner, I don't know. We can, I feel like we could probably skip that one. Okay, I did like that one, just for me personally. It gave me good tips, but.
Okay. So.
That was the
final one for day 1.
Clinical Gems one, right?
Yeah. Clinical Gems learned in the past 2 years from an MD's perspective. Mark Sue, MD.
I have to be honest, I tuned out a little bit on this one.
He was pretty good, but he was crazy smart, and I cannot. Some of these crazy smart people can't bring things down.
My brain just can't keep up because I am not crazy smart.
I feel like I'm pretty smart, but some of them, they're out. Like, I didn't go to med school, right? So like, I don't always understand what they're saying. I didn't even take science in college. I took rocks for jocks. So
Well, the one thing I appreciate about their scientist, Tim, is he makes it, again, very digestible.
I can barely understand him 50% of the time.
Same, but when I do understand him, I understand it well.
So that's very true. When I do understand it, I understand it well, but like 50% of the time, I don't understand him.
But at least he's like entertaining, you know, like some scientists get up there and it's just like droning, but he is very entertaining.
Hilarious. Like,
yeah.
Like, loved him. I really do. Mm-hmm. He's just, and they even addressed it because they're like, some of the things Tim says right over my head. And I'm like, same. At least you guys get it. Because like, they're very smart, but I feel like they think on a lower level, like with us, even though they like can understand everything. Like this is how they comprehend down here.
Which is good. I think that's where you need to stay because you need to project it that way.
And that's what I love about the docs. Okay. So Mark Sue. Yeah, he went to Cornell, Tufts, in Indiana. So I was like, wow, you're smart. Love that agenda. He didn't really say anything I didn't already know. He was saying, like, embrace your patient's inner child. So, like, ask a lot of questions, right? Let them ask their whys. The 3-part model interfaces self and exposome. What does that mean? External environment, exposome, right? So like the foods, the supplements, the toxins, pathogens, internal self. We know exactly what that is.
You had a lot of Star Wars references.
That's fair. I didn't get those, but that's okay. Like inner self, immune system, hormones, like what's going on in your body. And then like the interface was just the organs pretty much.
Yeah. So basically what we've already talked about, you know, addressing trauma.
Yeah.
Addressing your inner child.
It's funny because this is going to come out before the trauma episode, isn't it?
Yes, if I can get it edited this weekend.
If you can't, it's not the big deal. I'm
going to try. I'm going to try really hard.
I'm not going to tell anyone it's coming out till it's out. So
I mean, some of my clients are waiting for it, but
I told everyone actually it wasn't going to be out this upcoming Monday. It's going to be out the one after because I was like, she can't do that in a weekend. That's crazy.
I think I probably can, but we'll see.
Okay.
I'm going to try to do it today.
Yes, and they say clean up your mess before making another, pretty much just saying like your toxins and Herx. So I love that, right? Because they're talking about drainage and Herx because Herx reaction, there's a couple of reasons it could be happening. It could be because you're toxic. It could be because you're depleted. Your body can't tolerate anything. Or it could be just like a classic Herx because you just don't have drainage pathways open. So it's just saying open your drainage pathways so you can clean up your mess. Which
is what we tell you in probably every episode.
Literally 24/7.
Open your drainage pathways.
And so from him, he was, I just appreciated from an MD's perspective, he was saying like, I came upon CellCore, loved it, implemented it with his first 50 patients. Patients who completely discontinued due to intolerance, 0. Patients who discontinued because of perceived lack of benefits, 0. Patients who had to restart, only 2 to 3. Patients who perceived tangible benefits, 12. And patients with dramatic benefits, 5 to 6. So that's saying it's like 15. No, it's 17 to like over 20. I can't. 5 to 6. Though that's not making sense. This math is wrong. Let's just say it's around 17, 18, which is probably the real number of people that perceived tangible or big benefits just from starting them on CellCore over other things. Wow, you're going to see me brain fart massively today because I was like, those numbers aren't real. Yeah, and then he talks about addressing trauma, really, which we love. We talk about tapping, MBSR.
We have an episode coming out on it. Probably after this one. We'll see.
It's going to be so good. And that's day 1.
So maybe we'll have 3 parts.
It's good. I think we should do.
Oh my gosh.
We could do 2 and 3 in 1, probably.
Probably because we could probably just kind of glaze over a couple of them
today. Yeah.
Yeah,
and we glazed over 1 today. Sorry, not sorry.
It's not good. Although I do like a couple of like the next 3. I think The
dental.
oral and sinus ones, the dental one, the EMF one. I
EMFs.
love those. I loved her.
I feel like I loved her, but I don't feel like I can even say much on it because it's stuff we know too.
Yeah, I
Same with
mean,
the Spartan
it's always
races.
something good to, I think, reiterate upon.
Yeah, reiterate.
Because
That's like half my calls have been recently. People are like, "You're right, I know that," and I'm like, "I know you do. I'm just telling you again."
you just need your accountability. Where can the people find you if they want to reach out to you?
At the Rooted in Health, THE Rooted in Health, Instagram, TikTok, my website. Well, my website's rootedinhealth.com. What about you, Em?
At Emily Join Wellness everywhere. So Instagram, YouTube, website. I'm not a TikToker, but
I'm not.
you can find reels on Instagram.
I
And also
take the reels, drag them to TikTok.
there we go. Yeah. And also, if you liked this podcast, please subscribe, give us a rating, a review. Any kind of a review, we appreciate it all, but we do really, really love the 5-star ones. And you can like or give a comment on YouTube also.
We do really love a 5-star review, but any feedback is good feedback.
Yes. If we're doing something wrong, we want to know so we can fix it.
Yeah, so stay tuned for part 2. We're going to do day 2 and 3 in one podcast. It's because we just introed for like probably 15 minutes. So we're going to make it snappier.
We'll try. You know how we are. You know how we are.
I know.
But we can do it. We can do it.
Like a little bit of a longer episode, which is fine.
Yeah.
This will be the teaser.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
See you in part 2.